She brings wealth and health to her audience by tackling hot topics around substance use disorder, mental health and wellness. Her mission, vision, and goal are to help you heal from your past trauma, inspire you to transform your body, mind, and soul so you can live your best life. Your board-certified psychiatric mental health doctor, nurse practitioner, trauma care maestro, and media analyst, your life ambassador, best-selling author, TEDx talk speaker, CEO of Pool of Bethesda Psychiatric Health in Arizona. Let's all welcome Dr. Princess Fumi Hancock.
All right now, so thank you all for joining us. For those who do not know me, my name is Dr. Princess Fumi Hancock. People call me your global vision midwife. Others know me as your compassionate trauma care maestro. As profession, I'm a board certified psychiatric mental health doctor of nurse practice out here in Arizona. So welcome aboard this ship. And with me is my beautiful, did I say beautiful sister?
Hi, my name is Wendy Alexander, and I am an award-winning best-selling author and international speaker. I am the #1 cross-cultural consultant, as well as an international business strategist, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you so much. So we have a great show for you today. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, or perhaps you're listening on podcast, you want to stay tuned to this. One of the things we wanted to talk about today is about taboo, right? She was putting some questions out for us and topics. Well, we're going to talk about that some other time. And she came up with this topic from taboo. I say that from taboo to acceptance, cultural shifts in mental health conversations. And that really drew me. You know, we want to talk about taboo. Let's start about talking about taboo. So, sis, from looking at where you come from, right? You were born and raised in North Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there to the Arab countries. What are taboos? What do you see along the line that are taboos?
Well, I would say, I'm going to start at home. You know, one of the things, we was always told is that, we didn't talk about therapy. Mm-hmm. Therapy was in the home. You don't talk about anything outside of this house. And so for me, that's what we grew up with. It. Your grandma was your therapy, okay, right. And that's what it was going to be. And then as I grew older, of course, I discovered that no, there is such thing as real therapists out there, and that we need that. And then traveling through the Middle East. I would talk about mental health, but I would never hear anybody say the word mental health. Yeah. And they just would never ever talk about it. And it was on the similar lines of that, our elders, we take care of each other, there's nothing wrong with the kids, there's nothing wrong with the, the emotional things that are going on, and everything was special needs. Mm-hmm. Whatever it was, diagnosis, it was always just special needs. They would just never ever say the word mental health. And so as I started to really research and once I started living in Dubai, I realized I was just like, no, it's not that they don't understand or really they just don't want to admit that things are mental health and that there is other things that's going on. And also you don't know what you don't know, and so a lot of therapists admitted, that they really never dealt with mental health because everybody usually talks about special needs.
Yeah. I remember when I lived in Saudi Arabia, and I think I told you that where I would walk into a classroom and there might be 2 or 3 students, boom, they'll just drop drop, and their eyes rolling like they were going through seizures. And at times you'll be dealing with 2 or 3 in your classroom and you hear another drop in another classroom. And I did not understand it until I came back home. And I remember where we knew it was a mental health situation. And then I went to one of the leaders there and they looked at me like, what are you talking about? They did not, even on campus, they did not have anybody to even talk to these kids. And what they were going through was conversion, because the conversion was as a result of their trauma at home. So when you look at the Arab countries and you look at Nigeria that I come from, even in Nigeria, your secret is your secret. Right. Your mental health is the family secret.
That's right. That's true.
Straight up.
That's it.
Your mental health, forget that,
yep,
is the family secret. And so even if you want to seek help, you can't, because it is a family secret, and you just don't take a family secret out. I remember several years ago, I wrote my very first book here, Stepping Out. And the book it said, Stepping Out, Fulfilling My Destiny, _ mine. So, which is, I was talking about my own therapeutic journey and how I came out on the other side. Well, do you know that it's been how many years now? At least 28 years. There are still people in the family that still feel offended by some parts. One line here, two lines there about what I wrote. And they seem to forget the title. I was the one that was stepping out and fulfilling my destiny. It was my story. But because we come from a culture, silent culture that says, your trauma is our family secret.
That's true.
Then whatever it is that I wrote, it was like, okay, you're bringing the family secret. Even though it was me stepping out and fulfilling my destiny.
True.
So this is, to me, this is what taboo is. Things that are hush, things that they don't want you to share, they're taboo. But interestingly enough, it's tied to mental health. When you look at America now, with everything that's going on all over the world, actually, with the pandemic, those who come from silent cultures are suffering even more because there are certain things that happen to them. Even some of them are looking at COVID as if it's something that is our family secret.
Exactly. They are.
So
that's true.
I want you to share with us, because I know you have a great experience living in the Arab countries and also traveling to India and other parts of the world. And what role does taboo play in their mental health?
Oh gosh, it's a lot. Even when I was in Dubai living, I was working with a group that was starting off Safe Space, who is really taking off now, and it was about mental health awareness.
Yeah, I remember.
And so they're doing well now. But something that we discovered was that if someone wanted to or felt like they were going to commit suicide, I was like, and you're an expat, right, or anybody there, what number would you call? And the only number was for Indians.
Wow.
That's it.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? That's almost like they're the only ones who are committing suicide. That's when we know that's not true.
Yeah.
But that's what, and I said, and I searched for months, and that's the only number that was there. And so we, worked hard towards trying to change that as well. But, if you think about that, they took one culture out of all the cultures that, and religions and backgrounds that are there in Dubai, and said it's just Indians. And that's all who need this hotline. And so when we discovered that, yes, it was a high rate of them committing suicide there, but were they the only ones? No. And then when I brought up the question, because as Westerners, especially, we outweigh most of the locals there, right? Yeah. So I said, well, what type of mental health services are here? Because when you live in a different country, you do go through different culture shocks and changes, and trying to adjust to religion, trying to adjust for, being away from home. A lot of people see it as, oh, you're living in this different country, but they don't realize that there's stuff that you go through. And so who would you actually go to talk to, if you were having that and there was no connection? I couldn't find it.
Wow. And
so that's when Safe Space really decided to move forward and do like different events, within the community and stuff like that. And now it's more like, oh, wait a minute, we have other things that are going on. And from that, I thought about it. I said, well, where do they report child abuse?
Whoa,
right?
that's a good one.
And then when I looked around, there was nothing.
Wow.
And so in 2020 is when they really started doing their child abuse, where you reported. They had a system going the first time ever. It just started. And so, it was more like in their culture, when kids are, misbehave and, beat, that's the culture, right? If you see somebody getting hit, that's the culture. It's okay. And so, but what was happening is that the level, of beatings and, marks, and kids were coming to school was just like, no, wait a minute. For Americans, we're just like, no, you draw the line at some places, right? And so for them, they had never even thought about child abuse.
Wow. So, from your experience, do you see a cultural shift
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
Especially now, like it's tremendous. Like now I see, you know, you can see people talking about mental health. You know, I can even go back to us as fearless visionaries coming in Dubai. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
You know, when we
That's
came
true.
into Dubai, like when the first thing I said to you all, what did I say? You know, make sure you don't share too much of your
That's
story.
right.
Be very careful
Yes.
because certain things were not said there. And then when we had our event, we were the first platform, you know, to break that taboo-ness of, you know, that women don't have trauma, there's no trauma there, and talk about that. And from that event and many more, now you hear more about mental health, child abuse. I mean, it is like so many, especially different events going on now in Dubai based around mental health. But not only that, the government is now involved in that, and you didn't see that before.
When I look at Nigeria, you know, some of the movies that I'm watching now, it's just like shocked because they show therapists, actually families coming to therapy, which is not something it's really kind of like warmed up to in Nigeria. But now because we have other people coming into Nigeria too, there are therapists, which is so, I mean, it was just like, wow, therapists, right? So that is a cultural shift. Now, where children who are abused are concerned, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done where that is concerned, because you still have people, you have some communities like that are in the rural, where the day the kid was born or even in pregnancy, they've already betrothed the kid, the child. The child has been betrothed to somebody, another family, even in pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
So that when that child is born, their role, the family's role, is to take care of that child till the child is like 9 or 12, when she now goes to the family. Exactly. Yeah. So how do you differentiate that from a kid that's sexually molested? Because the husband might actually be an older person.
Right, exactly.
And takes in the 12-year-old and takes care of the 12-year-old till the 12-year-old is old enough, but the age difference is there. So where do you draw the line in, you know, when you go to African countries, where then do you draw the line between child abuse versus their culture that you brought it into their tradition? So those are the things, those are the kind of lines that still exist in Africa as a whole. And for me, I'll talk about more of Nigeria, where you do have them in the rural, you have in northern region and all kinds of places in Nigeria where those kind of traditions still exist. And so when you come in saying, therapy, they're like, what therapy? I mean, this is, you're barging into our tradition. So you still have that. But at the end of the day, though, if you go to many of those capital states, you have the therapists, those who actually went to school for it, which is really shocking to me. And I mean, I welcome it, because there's so much going on in Nigeria where Nigeria is concerned. So, having said that,
but let me say this real quick. You know, you just made me think of something. It's the same thing in the Middle East. Because now that I think about it, you know, when the therapists are coming in, it's like that's their culture. You know, even when oh my gosh, when we started talking about, you know, because I was in the schools helping the American schools get their accreditation, but then I also helped them with the special needs, showing that the special needs is also mental health. But when we had child abuse in the schools, oh my goodness, and trying to tell them, it's like, this is our culture, and you're telling me that it's not, you know. And then we want them to see a therapist, but this is our culture, you know. That's a battle, you know, and it was hard because you want to respect the culture, you know. I 100%, you know, believe in that, but where do you draw the line? How do you bridge the two together? But it took a whole lot of trust. You know, and building a relationship versus coming in saying, do this, do that, and then building that trust and relationship is what really helped us cross that line. But other than that, it was a struggle. So the same thing, I was just listening, I was like, wow, it's the same thing, just like Nigeria.
So, from what I'm hearing from you is that it is possible to bridge the gap. It's just very difficult because of certain situations around it, which is one of it is culture. Another one is religion too.
That's right.
You know, so that it's like, okay, we will trust in our religion. You don't need to do anything. For somebody who has schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia in Nigeria, you know, you have the religion that says, oh, you know, a spiritual thing. So I mean, some people believe that, okay, maybe that person did something bad and this is the reward, or the person's family did something and that's the reward, or somebody did something and threw it on them and that's it. And then we find them taken to forest to just go and live there instead of taken care of, you know. So those are the kinds of things that we see. How can we as we wrap up, how can we as professionals, as we that are living in developed countries, can we help the emerging countries like India that you've been to, you know, like Africa, like the Arab world? How can we, what is it that we can bring to the table that can help them have peace and understand that this is also a tool for them, not a tool to destroy their tradition or anything, but a tool to actually help them? How can we bring that in as a cross-cultural consultant? How do you think we can bring that in?
So I can use my experience now with South Africa.
Oh,
going in now,
yes,
you know, what I'm working on now. And the first thing I'm always going to say is understand the culture. Because you can't meet somebody where they are if you don't understand where they are.
That's
you
right.
know.
That's right.
And so first understanding the culture, but I always say building genuine relationships and really coming from, you know, showing empathy. You know, and it takes time. You know, for us, we can say, okay, you need to go to therapy, and you go, you schedule your appointment. From, you know, telling somebody in South Africa, Nigeria, or India, or somewhere that you need to go to therapy might take a month or two. You know, it takes
and that's
work.
okay.
Yeah, it takes time. And, you know, you have to be able to have that patience, you know, to be able to do that. But once you understand how the culture, understanding the culture, but having the empathy and showing that you genuinely care and have that relationship, then you can add whatever it is. They'll receive it more. You know, that's been my experience. And that's just like what I'm going through now with South Africa. You know, they don't have a lot of therapists there. You know, the culture definitely takes a toll. And here I am coming in as American. And so what I said I would do is, one thing they did ask, though, they said, we do want some help. But they also want people to respect us in our community. And so with that, you know, my vision is to have, you know, people like yourself, and other therapists and, you know, doctors and teachers and, you know, entrepreneurs, you know, to come in, mental health physicians to come in to the community to give them the tools that they need. But before you do that, I will teach you the culture, you know, and understanding that. But we have to be willing to go and give back to the communities outside of the U.S.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about before we wrap up again, I know I've said that, well, this is the second time, but we're really going to wrap up. So finances is a big factor, right? In America, you have grants, you have non-profit organizations that are running things, you have for-profit, you have psychiatric mental health practice like myself that are running their own clinics. However, in emerging countries, they don't have, many of them often do not have the budget to be able to do what needs to be done. And there are, in fact, some countries that, yes, they might have the money, but they don't have the know-how to even do it, or they don't even care enough to want to do it. So in countries like that, how do we help, knowing that finances is a big part of the whole?
Teach them business.
How?
Teach them entrepreneurship, the same skills that we have. We all usually have some type of skill, you know, and that's one thing that we always say in the Western world. You have something that you can sell, you know, that you could profit off of, and, you know, teaching them the skills. Most of them already know. They're very smart, you know, they really do. They just don't have the foundational tools or the access to different things that we do. But being able to develop programs that give them the skills that they need for their businesses, but also, you know, a lot of them make different things like baskets and things like that, where we can export them back into our, you know, we can buy them wholesale and then export them back here and sell them for them. And what I mean by that is not, you know, sometimes people say, well, yeah, I'm going to take your stuff back and then I'm not going to pay you now. and I'm gonna take your stuff back to the U.S. and then if I sell it,
they do that a lot.
Right, so not that way. I'm saying that when you're there on the soil, wherever you are, is that you buy from them wholesale. Mm-hmm. Now you fed their family, right? And now you change their mental health before you leave, and then you go back and you sell, because business is risk anyway. Yeah. So then therefore, if you go back and you sell that product when you're in the U.S., you may or you may not. That's your risk. But at the same time, was that really your purpose? Was your purpose to serve or really to get that money?
Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that we have been able to enlighten you with this topic. If you want more of this topic, please join us on Tear the Veil with Dr. Fumi. Psych DNP. Until next time, America, please, how can they find you?
At Inspiring.Decisions on Instagram, Inspiring Decisions on all other platforms.
Be inspired, be motivated, be of sentimental value. Understand that you, my friend, you are the hero in your life story. Do not allow anybody to rewrite your story. Until next time, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Tear the Veil with Dr. Fumi. We hope you have enjoyed being a part of today's show and that we have helped you in shining. For further information, you can visit us at drfumiPsychdNP.com and pobpsychiatry.com.